Oh, hello everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. I am Mr. Warren Hayes, welcoming you all to sit around and listen to me talk about pro wrestling for a while, for a bit, right here on youtube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes, or on your favorite podcast episode. Hope you're having a lovely week so far. Hope everything is going your way. And if it's not, hope it ends up going your way. You know, we're all about hopes. We want all the hopes, and we will continue to give hopes. And I hope that you will leave a like here on this video if you're watching this on YouTube, or if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast application, that you will leave a 5-star review or a 5-star rating wherever you may be, and that will be very appreciated and will help the podcast grow, and things will continue to go well. And I smacked my lips really hard there, and I shouldn't have done that. But am I gonna cut that and do that over? No. You know, I'm gonna have to deal with the embarrassment that I did that so loudly, so piercingly, and you have an opportunity to make fun of me, as if those never happen. We are going to be talking about a few topics here tonight. We're still going to be talking about Ron killings, the R-Truth stuff, but maybe from an angle that you're not necessarily expecting. That'll be something here. We're also going to preview New Japan Pro Wrestling's Dominion in Osaka-Jo Hall. That's happening on the 15th, on June 15th, therefore this weekend. So we're going to be previewing that. Talking about also the Voices of Wrestling 30 Under 30 list that I was a contributor on. I have Fred Moreland from the Good, the Bad, and the Hungry podcast over on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network joining me as well. So it's a good, solid time that we have on our hands. A couple of, extra little topics. But yeah, we've got a good sprinkle of stuff here this week on the show. Hope you enjoy it. Thank you very much for being here. Let's get to it. I'm kind of floored. To be perfectly honest, folks. There's a level of me right now that's kind of floored. That we are entering an entire new week, and we are still talking about R-Truth / Ron Killings, 53-year-old prelim comedy wrestler, and who is by all intents and purposes right now the number 2 babyface in World Wrestling Entertainment. I am so floored by it all. Now, in case you don't know, in case you're not aware, Ron Killings, R-Truth, showed up at the Money in the Bank show this past weekend, and helped Cody Rhodes and Jay Uso defeat John Cena and Logan Paul in their tag team match. I think he attacked John Cena, but it doesn't matter. Look, I didn't watch the show, as many that's what I do now. I didn't watch the show, and I don't even know for sure what happened, because no one talks about the finish. No one is talking about what happened in the match. But we all know what happened in the aftermath, though. He's back. That's what they say. He's back. And he helps Cody win and whatever. And my first thought is, he's back. He's not gone. He's not gone. He's still under contract. He said it himself. Now, lest we forget the main thing here, Ron Killings, the news of his departure was never leaked. It wasn't it wasn't a reporter who reported on it. He outed the news himself. And he said, they will not renew me once my contract comes up. And I don't think it was super clear when his contract was coming up, as far as I recall, right? He was still under a WWE contract. So for him to show up while still contracted by WWE on a show is like, well, this is highly uninteresting. I don't know what the big deal is. He's back. Okay. Well, he's still, I understand there's controversy, and there's still a little fire to it. I understand there's controversy, but he's not gone from the company yet. So I look, That's just, my brain sometimes suffers from something called logic. I'm sitting there, I don't know what's going on, but then slowly over the weekend, news starts getting reported. Now the journalists get at it, and the news starts trickling out that Ron Killings has a new deal with the company. I'm like, oh, isn't that interesting? Like Pro Wrestling Insider themselves said that something had happened within the 72 hours after Ron Killings broke the news himself, right? And that turned out to be Nick Khan having to get involved to keep our truth in the company. Let's read this breakdown by Josh Nason over on the Figure 4 online, The Observer. The bridge to our truth, making a surprise appearance at Money in the Bank and signing a new WWE contract, was apparently WWE President Nick Khan, according to a report out by Fightful Select. Following last Sunday's news that he wouldn't be returning to WWE, there was a public backlash on social media, chants during Raw and SmackDown, and several WWE wrestlers airing their grief. Boy, grief is the real word, wasn't it? On social media, that truth wouldn't be coming back. Grief is exactly the right term. The outlet reported that they were told it was a talent relations employee who initially gave Truth the news rather than a higher up, which only added to the situation given he had been there for so long. Aha. It's the old Vince playbook, right? I wonder I wonder who Triple H's Johnny Ace is here, that he has him do all the dirty work. Triple H will get all the praise for hiring people, but not for getting rid of them. They stated that Truth ignored WWE's attempts to talk during the week until Khan himself took the lead to work out a new deal, with both sides, quote unquote, meeting halfway. No details were provided on the length of the deal or if Paul Triple H Levesque was involved at all. It's also unknown who made the decision to not bring Truth back to begin with and what specifically made them reverse course. Truth's surprise appearance came in the main event as he laid out John Cena, clearing the way for Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso to pick up a win over Cena and Logan Paul. New merchandise focused on Ron Killings was then released shortly thereafter. PW Insider reported Saturday that something had changed in the prior 72 hours as Truth was already getting inquiries from several organizations about doing business. What a messy situation. So essentially, if we break this down, Ron Killings is told by a staffer, a talent relations employee, gave him the news that his contract would not be renewed. He didn't like that, didn't quite get it. Also kind of felt that, should have been maybe a higher up. I'm not saying he said this, but I think it's a reasonable feeling to have if he felt slighted that we're sending in an intern. I'm exaggerating, but bear with me here. And we're sending in an intern to fire him when he's been with the company for 17 years? Maybe he's like, you know what? This kind of stinks. From the company that has kinder, gentler releases, right? You'd think that they do something a lot nicer than here, right? Than what they did. But so he was like, all right, fine. He gets on his phone, tweets that out. And everyone tries to call him. If, probably Probably Triple H is getting calls and he's not answering. He's not picking up the phone. And he only picks up the phone for one guy, and that's the president of the CEO of the company, I should say. Excuse me. The CEO calls him directly, and now he picks up. Can you imagine how pissed off he must have been? And again, rightfully so. The guy's been working there for 17 years. He's basically told by a low-level scrub, as far as we understand here. We're not going to renew you. He's like, well, what the fuck? No one's going to negotiate with me? And no one, why isn't Paul telling me this? Why is it, what the fuck is it? Well, and I get it. No reason why he should. So he's bitter. He's pissed off. He goes home, does his thing, posts on Twitter, doesn't answer the phone. Oh, the boss is calling me. The CEO calling me directly. Picks up the phone. I think that was very smart. It was a smart move on his part. And they have a little negotiation. They're met halfway, right? So they had some demands. They were like, well, we can't, it was probably a situation where Nick Khan was telling him, look, we cannot give you as much money as you're making. And Ron was like, okay, well then I cannot do this. And I want this. And they found an agreement and they were all happy, and then they came back. That's tremendous. And he's back and it's fine. WWE fans are super excited. I myself I'm happy that Ron Killings did what he did. Look, let's break this down a little bit, okay? Because I'm not a Ron Killings hater. I've sat here and I've told you all that, as far as a guy being funny in pro wrestling, I really think Killings is untouchable. I think he's a guy who's legitimately funny and understands timing perfectly. I think he gets it. He's one of these guys that understands comedy, right? I think a couple of weeks ago, or the last time we spoke about this, I thought I brought up, I feel like I brought up, that time that they had the Street Profits try to do like an SNL weekend update type of bit. Do you remember that? That lasted for 2 weeks. Do you remember this? They were freshly called up out of NXT, and they had them at a desk, and with the green screen news background, you know what I'm talking about, and they had suits on, and they were reading funny news items about WWE. Oh, and a little bit of pop culture too, just sprinkled in there. But they didn't have, look, because I think everyone was like, oh, the Street Profits are funny. Montel's yes, he's so funny. But they just didn't have the chops to do it, And I think this was back at the time I was doing this. I was still reviewing with Fightful, with Sean for the Friday night show. And I think I remember telling Sean something to the effect, it's like, it's weird where WWE thinks that its wrestlers can do everything that everyone else does. They can act, they can do comedy, they can sing, they can dance, but no one else can wrestle, but they can do anything, as if all of the other disciplines of entertainment are just like, you can just pick those up. But wrestling, that's really complicated, and you can't have like your regular Hollywood jabrones do this kind of stuff. To be a WWE superstar is special, right? Whereas comedy is one of the hardest fucking things to do. Making people laugh, like, for a living. Anyway, just bringing that up as a counter point to, well, does he suck or not? does Ron Killings suck? And no, like, he never had that problem when it comes to comedy. He never ever had that problem. Very, very competent, average pro wrestler as far as the in-ring goes. But and I know that for WWE fans, it doesn't matter that much. It doesn't matter all that much because that's why he's over. But here's the deal. Last week, we talked about, again, the whole corporate structure in TKO, right? And how companies work and how TKO is a holding company and it doesn't produce goods. Holding companies don't produce goods. They're made to maximize profits. They're there to bring in the money and make sure that they keep making more money. So they buy companies that do these, that are able to produce things, and then they make the money off of the money that these companies make. So on, that's essentially it. I'm not going to rehash all of that, but that's what we talked about last week when I was trying to make my case as to why Triple H, Paul Levesque, is absolutely the man to blame in not renewing, in the decision to not renew Ron Killings, because everyone was blaming TKO and it doesn't make sense. And hopefully that my expose last week made sense. Here's the thing. And here's what's really funny. And here's also something that we've talked about is that Triple H was, he had to make the call. He had to make the decision to, cut people from the roster because he received his marching orders from the top, or from Nick Khan, who received his orders from the top from TKO. It was like, well, you guys got to cut this percentage of salaries. You guys figure it out. And Triple H is the guy in charge of talent. Triple H is the guy who makes the decisions. So yeah, he is very likely the guy. I mean, that's it. That's in his description. We read it off the website, off of the corporate website last week, that talent relations is 100% under his, it's under his mantle, his umbrella, if you prefer. So he does the decision. Turns out, he sends someone to do the dirty work for him. Truth receives this, he's not happy. And he posts on social media that he's not being renewed. Now, it turns out that him doing that post was the smartest thing that has been done in this entire cycle of news here. It's the smartest thing that could have been done. I don't know what his exact intention was here. Was it, maybe on one hand, was it to drum up interest in his post WWE endeavors, right? There's a fair chance, and that's actually the one that makes the most sense, right? That he sends out a tweet saying, "Hey, in a couple of months, I'm going to be free," so that he can start getting offers. He can start fielding offers, whatever. And it turns out he did field some offers. Apparently, there were some companies who were getting in touch with him. Look, you can easily surmise that New Japan Pro Wrestling and CMLL were not necessarily two of the companies giving Ron the Truth Killings a call. They weren't inquiring on the availability of K-Quick. But I think we're all pretty confident with that statement. That leaves two, outside of indies, but that leaves two very plausible landing spots. AEW and TNA, which TNA would make a lot of sense if he did end up there. He has history in TNA, long storied history in TNA. He stays in the WWE family, so it's all good. And AEW, I mean, why I couldn't tell you, why I don't know. Maybe if Tony Khan is like, yeah, I'll have you in for this one shot here, this one time, come in for a month, put my guys over and leave. Sure. But anyway, this is fantasy world. I'm not doing this because but he did get the calls, right? So, okay. So back to my original point. Did he send out the tweet to drum up interest for his post WWE endeavors? Or Did he do it to force WWE's hand into getting him back to the negotiation table? Now, I don't know what his intent was. Who knows, right? But ultimately, he played this perfectly, and he probably ended up getting exactly what he wanted that he probably could not have gotten at a TNA or maybe even with AEW. Definitely not with TNA. He was like, okay. Like with one tweet, by pushing that out, he forces WWE, he forces the chief executive officer of World Wrestling Entertainment to pick up the phone and call him to negotiate a new deal with him within 72 hours of the fucking tweet. That, my friends, commands respect. Well played. Masterful gambit, Mr. Quick. That was tremendous. And I admire him for that. Whether that's the intention or not. Whether he's like, I'm going to, and look, if the reports are true, probably not the intention, because he was icing everyone out. They were trying to call him, and he was saying, no, I'm not picking up the phone until the CEO called. And then Ron accepts to stick around. So it's not a work, okay? And I don't know who needs, well, no, actually I do know who needs to hear this. I do know who needs to hear this. But these are the dumbest people on the planet. And even with all the evidence laid down before them, they will continue to believe some kind of narrative that was concocted on the fly by, the untouchable Paul Levesque, who is infallible. He's our little squeaky baby prince, that we cannot besmirch in any shape or manner. We cannot send him outside for fear that he would contract the consumption. We got to make sure that his shirts are well pressed and all. No, we cannot say ill or wish any type of ill upon Paul Levesque. And these literally are the dumbest people on earth, right? Because even despite Ron Killings responding to one of these goobers, right? Our friend Fadeaway Media, right? Who tweeted something about, it was all a work, what a great moment, he's back. Ron Killings replies to this goofball saying very simply, no, it's not a work. Very plain spoken, not 2 words. No work is what he said. No work. So despite that, there's still people who think this whole thing is a work, which is preposterous. Ron Killings said it himself. His son, K-Quick's kid, congratulated his dad on his new deal on Instagram. It's not a work. It's not a work. He sat down and conducted business. Well, he sat down, picked up the phone with the CEO of the company when the CEO of the company called him to conduct some business. And this guy kept Ron the Truth Killings from leaving the company. This guy being Nick Khan. The thing that is very, very important here to point out is that all of this happened and no one is quite sure how Triple H was involved in bringing truth back. No one quite knew how that was going around. No, the boss had to call in and make this happen. Triple H answered one question at the post Money in the Bank press conference where he said, where someone asked him about Ron Killings being back, and he said something to the effect of, are you enjoying the show? It's all part of the show. And that's all he said. And you could tell he was kind of piqued. You can tell when Triple H is irate about something because this is the softest man alive. What all of this does, like because trust me, if Triple H had anything to do with the return of Ron Killings at the pay-per-view, do you sincerely believe that he would not be sitting there at the press conference when someone is asking him that and saying, no, it's all part of the show? If he had anything to do with that, he would be saying, oh yeah, Ron and I called and we had a long talk, a good talk. Ron is a valued member of the roster, and he would have taken credit for it. What are we even fucking talking about? He would have been all over that. Another thing for the people online to glaze for the great Triple H, right? Of course that to me is the biggest sign that he had zero, zilch, nothing, nada to do with this. That he took a decision, passed it down to one of his underlings, didn't quite work out that way, and his boss got involved and overturned the decision, establishing once again that Triple H has no real executive authority in this company. That he is absolutely just a cog in the wheel, just like the rest of them. That all he's the guy in charge of talent and creating shows. But when it comes down to it, when it comes to the real nitty gritty, the real nuts and bolts, the things that really do matter for functioning in a company, he's completely expendable. How long have we been saying this on the show? That Triple H can be replaced at any given moment. How long have we been saying here? Like a lot of people have been saying around, using other terms maybe than I have. I've probably been using more words, and people have been using them in ways that are much more succinct, such as calling him a middle manager. There's not more proof here. I mean, it's probably, if you work in an office, it's probably happened to you where your floor manager, your department manager, when it makes a decision and it's unpopular or something happens, and then, his boss or an executive overturns it, and then he has egg on his face. It's the same type of situation. It's exactly the same type of situation. And he wasn't happy about it. There was no way he was happy about it. If this had any good outcome for him, he would be, not only would he have talked about it at length at the press conference, he'd still be talking about it right now. He would still be answering that question right now. He wouldn't shut up about it. He had nothing to do with this. Nothing to do with this. He's the softest man alive. He can't take criticism. We know this. Look, hey, don't forget, this is a guy, right, who managed to put in the instructions for the video game SmackDown versus Raw 2009, put in the instructions going out to media that media could not use the character Triple H to come across as weak or vulnerable in screenshots or in videos. He always had to be looking strong. And he was the only wrestler who had special instructions like that. They didn't do that for The Undertaker. They didn't do that for whoever the fuck. Brock. No, but Triple H could not be meant to look weak or vulnerable. He's so soft. He's so incredibly soft. And I understand where it comes from. I understand where this insecurity comes from. This is a man who was overtly disliked by his peers back in the day, particularly when he started dating the boss's daughter. But this is a guy, he had his little clique of friends, right? Sure. But this is a guy who managed, finagled, politicked his way so that he could be hanging with the likes of Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock back in the day, so that he could be on that echelon. But the fact is, no one ever talks about Triple H with the same type of reverence as we do with Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock. No one ever talks about Triple H as being this top guy, this great draw, this crowd pleaser, this incredible wrestler. Nothing. Great promo, nothing. This is a guy who absolutely used every politician's trick in the book to position himself the way he did, to be up there as a top guy, but without actually being a top guy. Like, I have never heard anyone ever say Hunter Hearst Helmsley is my favorite pro wrestler. I have never heard anyone say that. And I'll even go further than that. I was very active on message boards back in the day, discussion boards, and RSPW. I wasn't active, I lurked. But I can promise you one thing. There wasn't anyone back then, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, that was saying Triple H is my favorite wrestler. Everyone fucking hated him because they saw him for what he was. No one said Triple H is so cool. Maybe the period where he was the leader of DX. You know, with the New Age Outlaws in China and Sean Waltman. Maybe there. But no one was like tearing off their shirts saying, we need the Triple H run. No one was really saying that. You could all see it coming. It's not because, but I have never heard it. That doesn't mean that you have never heard someone say Triple H, and maybe Triple H is your favorite wrestler. And you'd probably be one of these seldom people that I've heard since say that, but I never hear that. And when we talk about the greats of pro wrestling, that guy's name never comes up. Never comes up. And he knows this. I'm circling back to my point. He knows this and he understands this. Why? There are two reasons why he is working so hard, and it's becoming so clear. The two reasons why he is pushing himself so hard on television. The first one is to cement a true to form legacy where people will actually like him. That's the first thing. The second reason he's doing it is to become indissociable with the product. So getting rid of him will be very difficult and might lead to a fan revolt, might lead to fans getting upset. It's very calculated. And I think that second part is very, very telling. And I think it's very true, actually, is what I'm trying to say. I think it's very true. I think Triple H realizes that he's on an ejection seat. I think he realizes that, Vince is not around. The family's not in charge. And all of the people all around him, they're all fucking sharks. He thinks he's a shark. He has to deal with great whites all around him. He's like a big jacked up hammerhead shark. And he's got great whites swarming around him. He knows they're going to come for him if anything goes wrong. He's the most expendable of the bunch. WWE is not run by the McMahons anymore. It's not one person behind the scenes taking care of everything anymore. And their objective is to make the most money possible. Now, as it stands, despite all of this debacle, as it stands, I still think Triple H is in a safe spot. I don't think he's in danger of losing a spot, even if you think WrestleMania stunk, even if you don't like how he handled the Ron Killings thing or whatever. He's in no danger. As long as fans continue to pack in the arenas, as long as it's making monster numbers and they can get all the money that they can monetize their fans until, they have to take out second mortgages to go to shows, and they have great, and their ratings and their streaming numbers are satisfactory and are doing the job. As long as those key numbers work, TKO doesn't give a shit about what's going on every Monday night, every Friday night, every Tuesday night. They don't care. They don't care about the quality of the creative. Are we still bringing people in? Yes, that's fine. And WrestleMania this year was a tremendous success, huge success. So they're not going to toss Paul out. They're going to be like, well, Paul clearly has he has the formula. We're not going to mess with the formula. But if things start going sideways, he could easily be on an ejection seat, and he gets parachuted out of the plane. Like that. He's expendable. They could put anyone in that spot. They could put Paul Heyman if they wanted. They could put Brian Gerwitz. They could put Road Dogg Jesse James in there. They could put anyone in that spot. They don't give a shit. Head of creative? Be real here. I'm not saying that these are the necessary candidates, but what I'm saying is that they could literally just pull anyone out who's doing creative right now and toss them into the role, and they'd be happy. They'd have the guy. So that's why H is doing what he can to make him undecipherable. No, that's not the word. Indivisible. That's the word I was looking for. To make himself indivisible from the product. If it's working, thank you, Paul. Thank you, Papa Paul. Papa Paul, you're doing great work. Greatest angles of all time, etc., etc. So that if things start going south a little bit, well, he's got the leverage to say, well, listen, brother, if you toss me, the fans are not going to like that. And if we're already suffering and we're not draining as many people into the buildings anymore, if you get rid of me, that might turn against you too. That's all I'm saying. I think it's a great strategy on his part to have done that. And the more you think about it, the more it makes sense. The Triple H era, remember at WrestleMania 2 years ago? When he came out first, started calling it the Paul Levesque era. Directors, they get fired all the time. They get inserted and fired all the time. And if I'm the TKO brass, I don't know if I make this guy. I don't know if this guy's position is there for decades. I think you want things circulating. But anyway, that's just me. And one last thing I want to point out about Triple H as we continue to tear down the veneer here of Paul Levesque with some astute observations. For a guy, and I'm echoing a little bit Joe Lanza here, by the way. For a guy who, says to be in tune with what the fans want, who says he's, who's always one of the first to say, oh, this is all about the fans. It's about you guys and what you want and so on and so forth. He completely dropped the ball with the R-Truth thing. Because if he was such in tune with the fans, he completely 100% misread them here, thinking that he could jettison R-Truth away and move on to something else. And the situation got so bad he could not salvage it. His boss had to come in to save the day. That's what Triple H is. He's just a guy whose job is to put on a silly show to put on a silly show that will guarantee that that more and more people will pay to see so that his bosses will be happy. And if he can't do it, we're going to step in and do it ourselves. There are moments that when I record bits and I give my thoughts and we do some analysis here, that I feel I'm pretty spot on. Pro wrestling, it is what it is, right? But there's a lot of times that I feel like I'm pretty spot on. when it comes to the deconstruction of the myth of Paul Levesque that exists right now, because there's a myth around him right now. When it comes to the deconstruction of that myth and exposing him for what he is, I legitimately think that I am extremely on the nose. I think I have this one nailed, and we'll see how things progress. I think my analysis and understanding of the situation is razor sharp. I legitimately think I am spot on this. And he is not the genius that everyone says he is. That not even close. That he's insecure. He's a scared little man. And he knows he's in a tenuous situation. And he's doing everything. And we're getting more and more proof of that. I think I'm on it, folks. I think I got it. I legitimately think I'm on it. I think it might be the same with Triple H. The more Triple H continues to demonstrate that he's not this high-powered, creative force in wrestling, that he's a guy who has like 4 to 5 good ideas that he executes, on repeat, just cycles through them. There's going to come a time where the fans are going to see through it, because it's going to be too transparent. Because he doesn't have the guts to try anything new. He doesn't have it. He just doesn't have it. Anyway, I may have gone off on a little tangent there again, but nonetheless, we will continue the deconstruction of Triple H, Paul Levesque, as he continues to give us material to do it. No, that's it. It's like I had something on the docket tonight regarding the split of Warner Bros. Discovery. Now they're doing the streaming and TV networks on one side, and then the movies on the other side, right? Basically, we're returning back to the initial incarnation. It's whatever. And I was going to come here and read the article and basically tell everyone my take was, and we'll see if it still holds here. My take was, you know what? There's no takes to be had right now. It's too early. We don't know how anything is going to react. So if you're an AEW fan and you're worried about what's going to happen to Dynamite and Collision, are we still going to be able to stream them? Are they still going to be on TBS and TNT? And you start entering your anxiety phase, which AEW fans are very, very good at, creating anxiety and starting to doom. No reason to. AEW is set till 2027. There's an option for 2028. They're fine. Short term, they're absolutely fine. If you're someone who's already celebrating, they're going to lose their deal. If you're one of those, they're going to lose their deal. No one's going to want to pick them up, etc. Well, first of all, you're a dummy, but you're a double dummy to be able to glean that kind of information from what we have here, because there's nothing that even remotely shows that. Okay, so don't be anxious, don't be a double dummy. All right, that was my take. But then BJ Bethel, gonna have to double check that. We're gonna have to get confirmation. I guess as we started streaming, because I didn't see this article today, released this exclusive. It says Warner Bros. Discovery split won't affect AEW streaming TV deals. And he calls it an exclusive. So, published today, June 9. Let's read it, and I'm going to discover it with you. Okay, folks? I haven't read this. I guess this appeared before just as I started streaming or whatnot. Anyway, I didn't see this earlier today. All Elite Wrestling's television and streaming deals are likely to be unaffected by the upcoming split of Warner Bros. Discovery and its streaming and television properties, sources told SESscoops.com on Monday. Variety and several other publications reported WBD would be splitting its HBO Max streaming from its television properties mid-2026. WBD streaming and studios would be headed by current WBD CEO David Zaslav. He's gonna get to be a big movie mogul big movie producer type. Oh, that's all. That's what he's wanted from the start. He's finally going to be able to get rid of those pesky, CNN networks and all that. Oh, good for him. A second company comprising of WBD's television properties would be renamed WBD Global Networks and led by WBD CFO Gunnar Windenfels. That's a good name. That's a good solid Scandinavian name. Gunnar Windenfels, maybe even. Maybe it's even German. Windenfels. Maybe he's from Minnesota. AEW signed a 3-year deal with WBD for its programming on TNT, TBS, and the HBO Max streaming network last fall. The deal, which was reported first by SES Scoops, is for around $170 million to $200 million per year. WBD had an option to extend the contract to a 4th year. AEW and Collision were added to the HBO Max streaming in January, where Dynamite over the first several months of the year was averaging around 500,000 viewers in the live +1 metric, with the deviation of positive negative 10 to 20% per week. We first reported the streaming numbers in an exclusive report earlier this year. Yes, BJ, we remember. A source familiar with the AEW and WBD contract said the wrestling company would likely be unaffected by the split. WBD was shopping the venerable news network CNN for sale earlier this year. Potential buyers included several local TV broadcast companies. A split of WBD's streaming and cable assets was expected to take place later. The current split keeps CNN aligned with the current WBD cable properties, such as TNT, TBS, truTV, and Discovery. According to Variety, most of WBD's $37 billion in debt would live with WBD Global Properties when the split occurs. See, he's offloading all the shit he hates to someone else so that he can be a big Hollywood type, big Hollywood mogul. Just like the Warner Brothers were. Interesting. I mean, there's not much really here to add outside of, and I trust BG at the same time. There's not much here outside of his source saying that AEW's television and streaming deals will likely be unaffected, but likely might be doing some heavy lifting down the road if anything does change. Listen, I mean, BJ actually does have contacts within the industry, so he probably worked them, got that information. Look, a source familiar with the AEW and WBD contract said the wrestling company would likely be unaffected by the split. So there you go. There's nothing more to add at this point. Other than, look, if you're an anxious AEW fan, rest assured, your company's going to be fine. Like, I don't know what would happen really. They split everything, but they're still they're like two divisions, essentially, two companies under the, I don't know. I still don't quite get that bit, but I wouldn't be too worried. But the point is right now is that there's nothing you can dissect here. Look, I even read, an article by Dave Meltzer today, who was another authority that I, when it comes to TV and whatnot, that I have some faith in. And he said, basically his article was like, shrug, I don't know, shrug. It could be this, shrug. I don't know, shrug. It's too early to tell, shrug. It could be this, but also maybe not, shrug. There's anyone who's telling you, who's purporting to know what's going to happen. It's like, oh yes, well, inevitably they're full of shit. We don't know what's going to happen. Like, the thing hasn't even happened yet. And there's going to be so many moving parts here. And yes, AEW is going to be part of it. And we'll see what happens. But you know what? Here's something else that's very, very important to always remember. That even if, and I'm not saying that this is what's going to happen coming up. Absolutely not, especially after what BJ said here. But even if AEW's deal with Warner, with Warner Bros. Discovery, whoever now, it would be with WBD Global Networks, right? WBD Global Networks. Even if this deal were to fall apart, AEW is going to be fine. I guess is what I'm trying to say. They will find another network. There will be someone out there who will be looking to pay for AEW weekly on their TV. It will not mean the end of the company. They're not going to be disappearing. So whatever happens, what I'm trying to say is that whatever happens, AEW is going to be okay. AEW is going to be fine. And you just have to put your trust in that. It's already fine. It's already a very successful wrestling promotion. Everyone needs to everyone needs to relax. And we know it's a successful wrestling promotion because WWE is trying to counter program it at every corner. So it's all good. It's all fine. Fred is joining me here tonight because we are going to chit chat a little bit about the Voices of Wrestling 30 under 30 list that was released a little bit last week. Like at the
all of it was released.
Yes, I misspoke. What I truly meant to say was that it was released bit by bit last week, and then it came out the way it did, which was erroneous, wrong.
Oh, the list was wrong, or
no, that's not.
I'm not the same. This has been atrocious. This is basically who's on first. I don't care. The rare no, don't care instead of yes and.
Yeah, exactly. I gave up everything I know about improv moving forward. Just like, nope, I'm shutting everything down. But no, I thought it'd be interesting to go over the list a little bit, not the entire thing, but have a bit of a talk about it with Fred, because both he and I were balloteers. Is that what they're called, Fred? Balloteers?
Yes, I think that is the official term, of course.
All right, and I figured we at the very least talk about the top. We'll talk about the top 5 a little bit, and share some thoughts and whatnot. See how this goes, and especially how it compares to our own ballot in regards to positioning here. So if we go, I have it right up here on screen for those of you who have the benefit right now of watching. I don't know. You could be in another room, and this might be on your television. I don't know.
But you might just like pictures.
You might just like pictures. We have number 5 here. Well, I'll just run down the top 5. Yuma Anzai at number 5. Landing at number 4 was Ozawa from Pro Wrestling Noah. Then at number 3 was Dragon Gate's own Shun Skywalker, the best picture that you could probably pick for Shun at the same time. That was used there. Kyle Fletcher in at number 2. And topping off the list at number 1, Gabe Kidd. Very controversial. Why don't we start with that? Very controversial number 1 pick from us at the Voices of Wrestling there, Fred. It didn't go wasn't very widely accepted as something good, right?
Yeah, a lot of people complain, I guess. I don't know. What are you going to do? I did not vote him number 1 overall. I had him all the way down as a hater at 6th.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's terrible. I thought in ring he had a great 2024, and basically his 2 matches of any real consequence this year have been great. I saw a lot of people being like, "Oh, Kenny Omega is the best wrestler in the world." I mean, obviously Kenny did a fair share of work in that match, but it's not like Gabe Kidd was playing the role of a broom.
No.
So, Yeah.
That's the thing, right? Is like you can say, and we've said it before in multiple circumstances. There's wrestlers that you get in the ring with, and you expect a great match out of them, unless you are a complete and total schlub. Omega, Osprey, those usually come to mind. But to have a great match, you usually have to have both dance partners putting it together and working towards the goal. And I thought Gabe Kidd went above and beyond in that match, way above anything I was expecting. And I think it took a lot of people by surprise.
Yeah. I had Gabe Kidd in 10 notebook matches last year, so 4 stars plus.
Right.
He was in my top 20 on my FSM 50 ballot, which is basically who do you think the best in-ring wrestler is, or in-ring performer, I guess I should say. I just think he's a great performer. I can see why some people would be kind of annoyed with the gimmick at points. Did he come across as try hard at points? Here's
the thing. It's like, we're the guy was clearly figuring himself out, and I think he finally did. And I think he's found the right. He's struck the balance. Between what he was doing, in 2024, especially when he was paired up with Alex Coughlin, that, I can understand why people didn't like it. But I always defended him in these circumstances because New Japan at that time was so dry, like so unabashedly without any moisture to it, no humidity. It was just the driest bone dry dryness you could ever, dry. So for him to come in and start throwing shit around and just being a loudmouth, I was like, yeah, okay. At least there's something going on here. There's some spark here from this kid,
Even if like 10% of his stuff didn't hit, at least 90% was, pretty rocking, I thought.
I think so too.
Yeah.
He's my number 2 on the list.
Yeah, cool. I only held back a little bit. I knocked him down a little bit just because the way I approached my list was I was like, all right, if you're like a main eventer, basically, you get one of the top spots.
Sure.
And I think he is basically a main eventer, but he's like a really new one. And I feel like he's still a couple months away from like 100% establishing himself. He's like 90, he's like very close, but like a bad booking decision could hurt him or something, a bad performance.
Sure.
So I don't know. I also, a lot of people were like freaking out that his promo about Tsuji from like last week that was posted online by New Japan wasn't like particularly good. And they're like, oh, he because of the time in AEW, he's lost all his confidence and now he doesn't believe in himself anymore. Or maybe it's just like a mid-level promo. I don't know what to tell y'all. Maybe just don't freak out over like 1-2 minute promo.
Yeah, it's the end. It's finally the end. AEW's got their claws in them. They're turning into American wrestling. Yeah, whatever.
He's definitely jumping. Like maybe he is, maybe he isn't. I don't know.
Well, look,
we're all jumping at the end into a grave. Eat at Arby's.
So DJ Convoy in the chat says Kyle had such a tremendous turnaround this year that regardless of what I think of Kidd, I feel like Fletcher should have been the number 1 guy. Kidd is still the same guy. Fletcher has come out of his shell. And to accompany that, Mrs. Convoy says, yes, Kidd was and is a tryhard. In no reality should he be ranked higher than Fletcher. Let's talk about Kyle Fletcher then, since we're moving on.
Well, I had Kyle Fletcher at 9th, so
I had him at 3.
If you were to ask me, I would put Kidd above Fletcher, I guess. Again, in my mind, Fletcher is not yet a main eventer. You could argue he should be, and I think that's fine. I think they're both fantastic in the ring. I don't think there's you could slide a piece of paper between them, maybe. I think they're approximately the same level. I don't know. I mean, I don't have a strong, I'm not going to put my foot down and be like, Kidd is definitely better. If you put Kyle above Kidd, that's fine. I think they're within the realm of each other.
Sure.
And I have no issue with going either way, just depending on your opinion. It just depends what you like. I do think Kyle, Okay, if we're going to criticize wrestlers that I think are extremely good, what I would say is I think Kid needs to like find the right path with his gimmick and stay to it all the time. Like
Sure.
more consistency there would be great. Kyle, I think, has shown signs of becoming far more like, he's getting his character across very well. I think his promos like are probably the weakest part of his game. And mind you, I'm saying this as like, I don't know, letter grade wise off the top of my dome, like a B plus.
Sure. Yeah,
like really
you're
good
not
at it.
Burying his promo work is what we're saying.
Yeah, he cuts a good promo, but like it's not, if you wanted him to improve at something, it would be promos. So, I think this is a really interesting batch of wrestlers to try to rank, because I think you could point at any of them and say that they should be number one. They're like at least 8 of them, maybe 10, maybe more. Make a good argument for them to be number one. And I think you could also look at those same 10 or however many wrestlers and be like, well, I don't like this aspect of their game. And I think that would be perfectly reasonable. I don't think there's anyone on this list that at this point in time is coming across as like A plus across the board in any conceivable category.
No, I don't know.
Or all of them, I should say.
It's not as if you're maxing out all the sliders in
yeah.
Pro. No. No, I understand. See, that's
a TEW reference. We don't have a Tommy Cornell. That is a joke for exactly one person in your chat right now.
All right. Fantastic. Zach McGibbon says, confirmed Fred hates Kyle Fletcher. I just want to point out that Zach McGibbon is an actual reporter, so he's probably figured you out, Fred. He's probably...
Don't put that in the newspaper. Don't put it in the newspaper.
I think it might be too late.
Son of a bitch.
Well, there you go. You reap what you sow there, brother. See, my top 3, my number 1 was Saya Kamitani. I thought she was, I think she's been the revelation of the year. I don't think anyone comes close to an explosion like she has had as far as a young wrestler goes. But we're not talking about her. She didn't make the top 5, but I just needed to slide that in. And the reason why I'm mentioning that is because Kid was my number 2 and Fletcher was my number 3. And I was really juggling between the two. And ultimately, and this might sound...
Oh, Zach, how dare you?
Well, see, the articles I knew.
Oh, man.
Zach wouldn't be advancing this if he didn't have sources and shit. Ultimately, the thing that made me split between putting one over the other was, and this might be the least scientific thing I'm ever going to say, but it was vibes. It's just vibes. And I have always been oddly compelled by by Gabe Kidd. Like I said before, I was sticking up for him when most of the New Japan fans were trying to bury him off the face of the earth because they couldn't stand him. I was like, no, this guy is legit great. And I was excited. I was excited for him. And when it came down to it, I'm still, here's the thing also. I know Kyle Fletcher has had lots of great matches over the past year.
Mm-hmm.
He really has, because he's wrestled tremendous humans. He had that great series with Ospreay that busted him out of the shell and whatnot. We don't have to reiterate all of that, but Gabe Kidd has one match that I distinctly, clearly remember, and that I can still picture in my mind, the spots, the moments, etc. And it's just something that helped me put him over Kyle Fletcher in this circumstance.
Yeah,
because he has compelling work.
Yeah. Like, look, I think if anyone, and it's very funny with the people that like freak out about any kind of list like this, is if they were to make a list that I could turn around and do the exact same, like, oh, this sucks because of blah blah blah. It's just the kind of bullshit you can do with these. Kamitani is a great pick for number 1. I think I had her number 3. So again, a terrible hater. That'll have to make the evening newspaper, I guess, for Zach. I mean, she's really improved her game. She's got great charisma. Her ring work is much more consistent. And I have not watched. I think I've watched a grand total of 4 of her matches, and I have her like in my top 10 on the year for the FSM 50, just in ring. So, and add on that she's got that star charisma. She's basically the top person in the company. She's an easy top of the list pick.
The wild thing, and this look, we're talking about Saya. She's not even going, but nonetheless, the wild thing, and I underscore that in the blurb that I wrote for her, is how vanilla she was. All this time, right? She was so incredibly just a vanilla performer, happy little baby face, it's like, and then they decide to turn her around, give her the heel push, and she just like bites right into it. And the transformation is complete and on every level. And that's what's fascinating, because I liked Saya enough before.
Yeah, she was pretty good.
Where you're like, good little performer, but you're like, it's missing something. And now you're like, oh, this is what was missing. All right, I get it now. So, I think that's also super compelling when it's time to grade a list. Fred, what can you tell me about Shun Skywalker at number 3?
Okay, so I've yet to dig into Dragon Gate this year. I watched all of it, basically all the recommended matches to me last year, which was a lot. Mike Spears, that's what's going to happen. So I've got to say, he's not like, if I were to rank the Dragon Gate workers by ring work alone, he wouldn't be my number 1 guy. He'd probably be top 5. Like, I think he's very good. I don't think that I don't rank him as like a Bryan Danielson / Will Ospreay level or Sari level in-ring person. Like, like blindingly top 5, but sure. He's like top 25-ish, which is really, really good. Like, let's be clear. And that's not under 30. That's the total.
Yes. In the world. Yes.
Yes. And I think what really carries him is he does have a presence. He has a lot of star charisma, and he is like the centerpiece person of Dragon Gate that so much is built around as like the leader of their Z-Brats heel group. And he's a really good worker, super charismatic, and is extremely over in that promotion, which is like high second tier Japanese promotion, between New Japan or behind New Japan and Stardom. So yeah, it's hard not to, like, if you dig into his game, like, he's a clear top 10 minimum kind of guy, I think.
My issue is that Dragon Gate is completely a blind spot for me.
Yeah, and that's fair. Like some people complain about, like, okay, one big issue, one weakness I think with this list is that I do think that people from WWE should have made the list. I do think that is a shortcoming of the list. Sure. Now, the thing is, if you don't watch WWE, and we have a fair bit of voters that don't, then you aren't going to be able to fairly rank them. And that's the same with any other promotion. So it's just a matter of blind spots. I do my best to keep up with everything, at least on the fairly high levels. I'm not watching like random local indies or whatever, but no, I get but it's still like it's extremely hard to do. So
well, that's it. Our biggest opponent is time, honestly, in these types of circumstances. So like I didn't put Shun Skywalker on my ballot, and why? Because I haven't seen him wrestle outside of one match, which was a trios match, which was the Vegas match, which I thought was great, was one of my favorite matches in April. But like I'm not comfortable in putting him out there. So it's like the thing here is that I see this list come together and I see these names being highly ranked, and I'm like, okay. And I read the blurbs, and it's it's guys who wrote the blurbs that I like, that I trust. So I'm like, well, maybe I should at the very least pay a little more attention and get to the good parts, get the good matches and see what Skywalker is all about, instead of I don't know, flipping tables and saying, what the fuck, where is Braun Breaker?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's the worst kind of reaction, are the people that are like, "Oh, who are all these people?
Yeah.
I've never heard of them before." And it's like, well, you don't know ball. I don't know what to tell you.
I don't know.
Like,
That's all.
just because it does extend beyond like the TV stuff, that you stick to or something,
Exactly. The next gentleman we're going to talk about is Ozawa, who I did vote for because I did follow his ascension once it started to get hot, and I get it. Like, this guy is all charisma. It's insane, and he's a terrific worker on top of it. I get all the comparisons to Naito. It's like I understand everything. I get everything about this guy, and I mean, he's the best thing to have happened. I would say in Noah, and probably some other people would say in Japanese pro wrestling in a long time. Where did I put him? He ended up in my top 10 because I thought he's phenomenal. I think he's absolutely phenomenal. Yeah, I put him at number 8. I think he's absolutely.
That's where I had him. He is. I think he's great. I've watched exactly one Ozawa match because current 2025 Noah has been mainly a blind spot for me. But I was like, I got to rank this guy. I got to look at this guy, I should say, just given everything I've heard. And I mean, you watch him once and you get it. Like, it's the easiest thing to understand.
It really is. It really is. I don't remember. Well, I think it's the first match I saw was when he defeated. It's when he defeated Kaito for the GHC title. Yeah, that's the first match I watched. Yeah. It was in the build-up where he was posting salacious pictures on the internet, regarding Kaito Kiyomiya. And I watched the match and I was like I completely get it. I completely understand. This guy is special. He really, really is special. And how old is he? He's 12. You see, he's 28. I thought he was a little younger than that.
If only there was some way we could find this information out on this page.
I just scrolled down, Fred. My goodness, Jesus.
Yeah. He's only 2 years into his career.
It is time for bed for you, isn't it, Fred?
No, not yet.
You're acting up.
No, that's why I drink the buttermilk after this to calm down. I'll just have to heat it up a little bit.
Anything else on Ozawa?
No, I mean, like, he's a very charismatic dude who works really well and is the top guy in his promotion. I mean, he has created an issue in that he is their heel champion, but he's getting cheered because he's too cool.
And he's a draw. Yeah. Like, he's one of these rare guys that you can absolutely point to and say, this guy draws money. He actually puts butts in seats. It is observable and quantifiable. All right.
Yep.
And number 5, Yuma Anzai. All Japan is more than a blind spot for me. It is just completely out of my, I've driven right past it. It's a couple of miles down the road. It's next to a rickety old service station that I don't watch All Japan. It's not something that compels me, but Yuma Anzai apparently is he's one of the glues of the promotion.
Yeah, he is. He's only 2 years into his career. He's already been the Triple Crown champion. He's clearly been like their top prospect since he first stepped in the ring. Like, to the point that if I'm not mistaken, he was working with Yuji Nagata some.
Oh, really?
And if I'm not mistaken, hold on, I'm now questioning myself that I'm getting him confused with someone. And cage matches being very slow. But basically, like, if New Japan could steal him, they would love to. And he's just a clearly, Nagata did work with him some. And Nagata, what I've heard is that Nagata is like, hey, you sure you want to stay in All Japan?
Oh, really?
Because he'd love
trying to get him to soft jump or something, yeah?
Yeah, basically, because he's extremely skilled in the ring. He has charisma. I can't sit here and say that he's like Ozawa level charisma, but he has some. He could be the top guy in the promotion. The reason he's not currently, and the reason I dropped him a few spots, is because the Saitos are super over in All Japan right now. And so he's been shuffled down a little bit because they're just really pushing. I think especially June. I always get them confused, but I think it's June. That's the Triple Crown champion.
I think it is June, the who's champ right now. I think.
Yeah, and yeah, and like they're drawing huge, so you've got to go with that. But Anzai is a super worker. He'll be in the FSM 50 for like a decade if everything goes all right with him. Not great,
healthy.
All right. Yeah, like reasonably healthy, So
that's interesting. It's interesting the talk about Anzai going to New Japan, because I also hear, like, especially from Case and Mike Spears, I hear them sometimes talking about how New Japan wants to get their claws into Shun Skywalker, and they've been trying that for a while as well. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, I'm sure they'd love to have Ozawa too. They are the biggest, company. It's been essentially in Japan. And so, there's always going to be at least an attempt to get people to come over. And they've done it a lot in the past decade. I mean, Shingo Takagi, Kota Ibushi, Kenny Omega, Zack Sabre Jr. came over from Noah. They aren't afraid to be like, all right, you've been with your starting promotion for a while. You want to make some more money, and you can still work there some. And also, I mean, I think Mike and Case's big concern with Dragon Gate is they aren't like on the verge of death or anything. We're not talking like when Big Japan Wrestling was fundraising for their tour bus a few years ago.
Yes.
But like, they are limited in how much money they have. They're basically a small time, like essentially a mom and pop size company. Mm-hmm. And, when you compared with New Japan being part of Bushi Road, or even Noah being part of
Cyber Agent.
Thank you. I nearly forgot what that word was. Given those, it's obviously got a limit on how much money they can offer.
Sure.
And if Shun were to just like, hey, I want to be paid more because I'm the most over guy in the company. And from what I understand, from what I think it was how Mike described it, maybe it was Case, basically Dragon Gate salaries work on a seniority kind of setup.
Okay.
And, obviously Shun is not the most senior guy. So considering that,
but he's one of the most over guys, if not the most over guy, right?
Yeah, you could easily argue that he is. So that could be a source of friction. Now, the thing is that their upcoming, I think it's their Kobe show. Again, if I messed that up, sorry. Their next big show is going to be main evented by Shun challenging for the big championship there. Dream Gate. I think.
Yes.
Yes.
To say the voice, and I realized that's not it.
Yeah. And I think he is putting his Dragon Gate career on the line, saying that if he loses, he will leave the promotion.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. So that might be where some of that speculation's coming from too, then.
Yeah. So, this is the kind of thing that, is intended to juice a matchup, of course. But the concern is that what if this is a setup for, him to bounce to New Japan or Noah or whoever. And so that's kind of fueled some of that anxiety.
All right. Well, I mean, What does it, how can you be a fan of any professional wrestling organization in 2025 and not feel anxiety about the stars of your promotion? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's late stage capitalism has hit the pro wrestling scene. Let's leave it at that.
So, like I said, we wanted to go over the top 5. You can all check out the rest of the entire list, of course, at voiceofwrestling.com. All the articles are there with all the blurbs and whatnot. What does your top 5 look like, Fred?
All right. Let's see. My top 5 for my ballot. Now, like I said, I had basically a top 8 to 10 that I could have shuffled around just depending on the day. But my number 5 was Shun Skywalker, previously discussed. Number 4 for me was MJF. Now he's obviously a divisive figure in the pro wrestling landscape at this point in time.
Yeah.
I will say that the criticisms of him, I know several people didn't vote for him because he annoyed them so much they stopped watching AEW.
Yeah.
I get it. Trust me. I did a weekly podcast during the Brochacho era. I get it.
Yep.
And it's not exactly like his past 2 years have been like, largely creative Grand Slams or anything. There's been some great matches in there, with Bryan Danielson and Will Ospreay and Adam Page. But I also think it's fair to say, well, you're working with 3 of the best, and also you keep disappearing or getting hurt or just not wrestling. So,
yeah,
I think it's all fair.
I think we forget that he's really, really fucking good at this. He is. I think we lose sight of that, and that he's a great wrestler. That's just me. Look, if we want to go down this way, why don't I give my number 5 then?
Sure, yeah.
Which was Sari for me. Just an absolutely mind-boggling, explosive year. Talk about, leaving WWE and being like, no, look, I just wasted my time and this is never happening ever again. And I'm not waiting after anyone to tell me what to do. So she's doing the Marigold. She's putting on her own shows, which turn out to be must-see shows. They're destination viewing now. When there's a surrealism show that pulls up in town, you make sure to go see it. She's going to be fighting. She had such a tremendous match with Shuri earlier this year. Now they're going to have the rematch for the Inoki title, like she likes to call it. Look, she's phenomenal. We already knew she was phenomenal, but this past year was just insane, just completely bonkers. I think on the 30 under 30, she was in the top 10. She was number 6.
She was number 6.
Yeah.
Right. I had her number two on my list. So obviously, if you now, I think part of why she didn't make the top 5 is lack of exposure, because she isn't doing this in Stardom or even Marigold or Tokyo Joshi Pro, at least full time. She's appeared in the prior 2 companies, Stardom and Marigold. She's made appearances in there, but she's primarily just doing her own thing, or she's bouncing around to. She's spent a lot of time in Marvelous recently. Mm-hmm. And like Oz Academy, Sendai Girls, these aren't exactly like the biggest name promotions to American viewers.
I understand. But nonetheless, she gets around quite a bit. She's putting in a lot of work.
Yeah, I have to say that if you have not sat down to watch Sari, any of her 2024 or 2025 output, you really owe it to yourself to do so.
Yes. As a wrestling fan, Jesus Christ, yes, you do. It's so good. It's so incredibly good. Who was your number 4, Fred?
My number 4, was MJF, as we just discussed.
We did. Oh no, that's right. I'm sorry, I'm losing.
Who was yours?
Mine was Toni Storm.
Okay.
This is also something that I understand that a lot of people are super annoyed with the timeless gimmick. And I myself, look, I've always been consistent on this. I think I can endure a certain amount of silliness more than a lot of other people can. But when the silliness interferes with the matches and literally gets in the way, then that's when I'm like, I'm shutting down here, which is one of the reasons I dislike the Brochachos so much. And on top of that, I didn't think it was necessarily funny. But
it was like Vince McMahon humor that just really sucked. That just a lot of the time
really didn't work. And anyway, we don't have to rehash that. Clearly we still have PTSD. It's 2 years later, and
I think I always will, unfortunately.
but so the thing that always bothered me with the timeless stuff with Toni Storm is like, why does she feel compelled to do this this in-ring shtick when she is such a great wrestler? And now she's sort of found that balance between the shtick and being Toni Storm in the ring. And I couldn't be happier. She's had a tremendous year. That angle was spectacular. She is one of the biggest stars in pro wrestling. She's one of the faces of AEW. And on top of that, the work is there to back it up. I don't know what more you want. out of me as far as North American wrestlers go that are still under 30. Toni Storm is tremendous.
Yeah, I had her number one. So
there you go. Okay, so no argument. Yeah. You're not arguing me on that one.
Yeah, I think that she's figured out the right balance with her stuff. Now, this could change. I could be made to look a fool in the second half of the year. But she's figured out the right way to carry herself in the promos and stuff. She's cutting great promos. She's got obviously a terrific wit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's putting it mildly.
Yeah. So she is very good at incorporating humor into her promos without like turning the match build into a complete joke, right, which I think is very hard to do.
Yes.
And I mean, you got to walk that line. You don't want to, like, you can't be building like you have this big match. She has this big match with Mercedes Moné coming up. She can't be like turning it into a ha-ha thing, right? No, you can say funny stuff along the way.
Yeah, especially not at the big stadium show where they're clearly going to be one of the marquee matches. No, it's not suddenly going to turn into 2012 Shakara all of a sudden.
Yeah, exactly. So she's building these matches up. She's getting her opponents over. She got Megan Bayne over as a real threat. She got Shirakawa over as a threat, and this Mercedes Moné build is already off to a great start. So I think that she's figured that out great. Now I am the blow off with Mariah May, absolutely fantastic match, one of the best of the year. Easy 5-star-ish. I forget if I think I actually did give it 5. But of that level, like if you gave it 5, it would be like, I think no one should really give you crap over.
No.
I think my concern with her is a lack of other great matches. Now, part of the thing here is she's wrestled essentially the biggest matches were Megan Bayne and Mina Shirakawa. And I'm not saying either of them are bad wrestlers. I don't think they are. But I don't know that I'd call either of them great wrestlers.
Sure.
Yeah. Shirakawa is like pretty good, but is just kind of there, like at that level. And Bayne,
she's perfectly capable and a professional wrestler. I don't think she's anything. I don't think she stands out through her work all that much, basically.
Yeah. And Megan Bayne's a pretty good powerhouse wrestler, I would say. A little limited. I don't know that she can really break out of that vein very much, but what she does within it is pretty good, I think. But that does kind of cap like just how good those matches were going to be. So I think that's probably the most glaring shortfall right now with Toni Storm is quality of match that she's having. Now that could pick up in the second half. I think another concern would be obviously if she reverts to not having the right balance on the gimmick. Now again, I think she's figured it out.
I think she's figured it out. I think she sees it's working. So
yeah.
I think a lot of it had to do. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I think I think a lot of it had to do when she started it is because the timeless gimmick was a heel thing, and now that she's reverted to a baby face, like I think a lot of what she felt she needed to do to be a heel doesn't apply anymore. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that might be it. I do remember like they had an idea early on to have her do like silent movies during the picture-in-picture breaks. And I thought that was actually like a really clever idea.
I thought that was fun too.
But then like she just did like improv class warm-ups or something, like really, uninteresting stuff. Just like, oh, look at me be wacky, and just like jog in place or whatever. And it's like, oh, well, yeah, maybe we could have put another week into planning this.
RJ could have.
Oh well.
RJ could have stayed up an extra night trying to figure this one out.
Yeah, RJ could have been hitting the public domain Buster Keatons or something, coming up with something with like, something some bite to it. But yeah, my top 3 was as a woman respecter, Toni Storm, Saori, and Saya Kamitani in that order.
Look at that. We already covered mine. Number 1 was Saya Kamitani, then Gabe Kidd, then Kyle Fletcher. Solid top 5s on both of us. If we run down the rest of the list or the top 10 very quickly, Starlight Kid came in at number. No, that's my ballot. I had Starlight Kid at number 6.
You fool.
On the list, Sari was at number 6. Saya Kamatani was at 7. Tony Storm at number 8. Kaito Kiyomiya at number 9. And Zandokan Jr. at number 10. That was your top 10 of the Voices of Wrestling 30 Under 30 list. Just to wrap this one up, Fred, because now it's getting close to bedtime. Were there any surprises, good or ill, for you regarding the list?
Look, you absolutely don't have to give it to ISIS. That said, I do think there's some good workers in WWE that should have been recognized. I would have liked to have seen recognized. And I'm not going to lie. Again, look, I don't feel bad about this at all because it's WWE. And that anyone else that's going to try to do a list like this is just going to be like, Dominic Mysterio, number 1.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like ESPN literally was last year.
Yes.
Now I actually was like, should we rank Dominic this year? But then I was like, I don't want to ever watch Dominic Mysterio wrestle. Like, I don't have any urge to do that. I will say that he is passable in the ring now. He is no longer a complete train wreck. So congrats to him. Congrats to him. Again, I'm basing this off of a couple 4-way matches I've watched. So you're not exactly, digging deep into the repertoire. But I was like, I don't want to rank him because that would mean I enjoy watching Dominic Mysterio matches, which is a damn lie. But the ones that I thought should have gotten spots were basically, I think they had 6-ish real candidates, depending how high you are on them. And I'm not on the micro level. I don't have a problem with anyone not voting for him. On the macro level, yeah, maybe they should have been in there. But Rhea Ripley, Braun Breaker, Javon Evans, Axiom, Nathan Frazier, and Oba Femi. Now, I think there's criticisms to be made of all of them. Again, we're talking about they're all good workers. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I think Oba Femi has some huge holes in this game, just in terms of the connective tissue of a match.
Yeah.
He's capable of doing really impressive stuff, but then it's after that, it's okay, well, what do you do until the next spot, right?
Stringing it all together is a little harder. Yeah.
Yeah. I think Axiom and Frazier are a fantastic tag team. I just went through a list of SmackDown's best matches through, I want to say, maybe it was May, actually. And it was just basically are Axiom and Frazier in the match? If so, you should watch that. They're that good. And I don't agree with the tag team of the year case for last year. It should have been the Bucks, but they had they had a damn good top 3 argument, frankly. Rhea Ripley, a lot of injuries, and also isn't really given. I mean, the way WWE works is you don't really. It's very hard to have the opportunity to watch a lot of or have a lot of great matches in that company because they just don't care about that. Yeah. It is absolutely the last thing they care about.
And there's that, and there's the idea that everyone gets a turn too, right? So it's you can feel someone has a sustained push, or that they have that they're sustainably over with the crowd, but then WWE will, just have the middle.
Gotta watch those buckets.
Yeah, exactly. Just do a couple of things here and there, but never have anything substantial for them, And, that, I had Rhea on my list. She was quite down on it, 25. And for the past couple of years that we've been doing this, I put her up very high. But I this past year, I think she's still Rhea Ripley, but she really didn't have the impact that she had over the past couple of years.
Yeah. I had her 11th. I thought that she's still extremely good in the ring, or at least very good, I'll say. I don't want to make it sound like she's Benami Toyota, but she's very good. And she did great in that the big Mania triple threat three-way dance, whatever you want to call it. My other two, Braun Breaker, I think I was where I am now with Oba Femi a couple years ago with Breaker. I think he is now a tremendous bully heel, and frankly, I don't know the last time WWE really had this much of a dumb jock wrestler kind of vibe. I'm not saying he truly is one, but he's got that kind of vibe. He is the closest thing they've had to that in
a long
years and years.
No, I agree. And it's crazy how hard they tried in NXT to make this guy into a guy, right? And it worked at first. You know, there's a bunch of reasons for that. It kind of worked at first, but then when they got serious and started pushing him, the fans rejected him, right?
Yeah.
And now he goes up to main roster, and everyone's like, "Holy shit, it's Braun Breaker." You know, like,
here's my hot take: is that he figured it out in that Baron Corbin tag team period.
Sure.
Where he figured out, this is how I have to be a jerk, and now he's extremely good at being a jerk. And it was I think that helped him unlock like how to have the charisma. And now he feels very much like a Steiner.
Exactly what I was going to say. And now he feels like a Steiner because he's got that explosiveness also. You know? Yeah. It's crazy because it's crazy that his call up, you know, in all of these history, in all the entire history of NXT, the number of call ups that just were fumbled going up to main roster. He bucked the trend 100%. He is much better off on main roster than he ever really was in NXT. Maybe that first year.
Yeah, now Heyman's got his hooks in him because he sees that he's going to be a big thing. So, I mean, I think that's a big plus in his corner for scouting, you know.
He's going to be fine. He's going to be fine.
And the last one is Javon Evans, like similarly with Braun, where I'm like, hey, when was the last time we had this kind of, you know, vibe with a wrestler in WWE? Javon is the most dynamic wrestler I can think of in WWE in a long time as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like just that kind of like they have. Now I'm afraid that they'll take this away from him, but he does have that kind of like this guy could do anything at any moment kind of vibe.
Sure.
And it's very un WWE. And what really impressed me with him was that the three-way at NXT over Mania weekend, where he was in there with what was it, Obafemi and Trick Williams, I think it was.
Right. I'll have to take your word.
And
I didn't watch it.
Okay. Oh well, if you want to see a guy have like the single-handedly carry a match to like 4.5 stars or 4.25 stars, it's Javon Evans in that match. I thought
he was a prospect on the Indies. He was tremendous.
Well,
I can't remember his name off the top of my head here, but he was already like really great on the Indies. So you know,
he was in Deadlock Pro. He's stupid young too. He's like 21 or something.
Yeah.
So like literal infant. Jay Malachi.
Exactly. No, he was fantastic. He was at 100% a prospect. Good for him, and good for him for picking fights with Ricochet. That's also tremendous. That's going to do wonders for him. And I'm not kidding. Like that's the kind of shit that you know, he probably got a stern talking to from PR, from WWE PR, right? But you know, it elevates his image. I think it's fine. You know, it's whatever.
Yeah. It makes me wonder how much trouble he actually got in, or if it was a bit like there's a story from college football. I remember hearing someone say that like how a coach recruited them, and they're like, "There's two things that matter here," and he holds up his two fingers and he goes, "Number one, academics," and then he puts it down so he just has the number one finger up, and it goes, "Number two, winning." You know, I wonder if it was that kind of talking to, you know, like, hey, look.
Probably. Quite probably.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Fred,
those are my takes.
I'll let you head on out then, but thank you very much for popping in on the old.
Oh, thanks for having me.
To talk about the Voices of Wrestling 30 Under 30. Why don't you tell about the good, the bad, and the hungy before you leave?
Sure. I am a co-host on the AEW podcast on the Voices of Wrestling Network, The Good, the Bad, and the Hunky, which is I'm not going to be on this week because I got stuff to do. But we do mostly record every week and talk about what's going on in AEW. Last week we had a discussion about like basically at that point in time when Ron Killings was not getting re-signed by WWE before he basically outworked everyone.
Sure, that's what happened.
I mean, like, that's my opinion. Is he like WWE like played themselves and he played a winning hand?
In that, yeah, like it is absolutely a theory, and I have much respect for him if that's what he ended up doing. Yes.
Yeah. I now obviously the release or non-release, the expiration is, I think, pretty clearly not at work unless you're David Pinzer and very, dumb. But we talked about how it's good mostly for wrestling and, discussed that, me and Tyler. And then I've also relaunched my Patreon. So if you want to read more of my writing, you can go to patreon.com/flagrantwrestling. And I'll post about various matches I watch or just write an essay. I should probably sit down and write about the outcome of Ron Killings and his contract, which would be weird to have two think pieces about our truth in the year of our Lord 2025. But I think it's really interesting.
Just to have one think piece about
is very weird.
Is very strange. So there you go.
Yeah, it's an interesting point in time. Anyways, yeah, thanks for having me on, Warren. Enjoy the rest of your show and take care.
Thanks for coming, Fred. Take it easy. Why don't we give an old preview of the big New Japan Pro Wrestling show happening this weekend, June 15, Dominion in Osaka-Jo Hall. Big show that is happening in Osaka, Japan, in Osaka-Jo Hall. It honestly, loaded show. I'm excited for it. This is a stacked show that has some surprises probably in store at some point, likely. But yeah, look, I'm looking forward to this show tremendously. I think it's going to be. There's a lot of interesting matches on it. I think the business end of the card is particularly strong. Let's go. Let's start talking about it right now. Hiroki Goto is going to defend the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship against Shingo Takagi. A Shingo Takagi who no longer has a faction. LIJ is done, and he said it himself during a promo on the lead up. My unit is gone. I don't have a family. I don't have children. I don't have a wife. I don't have children. All I have is fighting for a championship. Do we have it on our scorecard to have Shingo Takagi end the golden run for Hiroki Goto right now? Is Shingo the guy to do it? Look, I love Shingo. There's a fair chance that you love Shingo too. He's a tremendous pro wrestler. He's been one of the best pro wrestlers in the world for years at this point. And the last time he was IWGP World Champion, he ended up, it was during the pandemic era. And probably wasn't the most exciting, time. There were really, no real crowds, and the pandemic era. What do you want from me? You know what I'm talking about. And a lot of people since then are like, well, when is Shingo going to get his run? And for years now, it's been drilled into your head that Shingo Takagi is not a contender. Shingo he'll be hanging around the never open weight area, and he'll be a great never champion. He might go up for the secondary title, whatever it is, the global title, whatever. But you really got the impression that as far as being a world champion, that ship had sailed, and Shingo would not necessarily be concerned with that moving forward. Basically getting into a Tomohiro Ishii type role. But I want to throw something out there. I don't know what you think about this, chat. What about a heel Shingo Takagi? What if Shingo Takagi, friendless, unitless, familyless, wifeless? I was going to say sexless, but probably not Shingo. He's probably, I think he's fine. You know, a guy who has no, who he doesn't have any attachments to anyone, anything. What if, I'm just saying, what if he decided to turn heel? Got nothing to lose kind of thing. Worse yet, what if he joins House of Torture? I don't want to curse you all. I don't want to curse this. At the very least, maybe a heel turn in this new environment where there is no more Tetsuya Naito to count on there, and we need some shakeups. We need some different things. Maybe a Shingo heel turn is exactly what the doctor ordered to keep things interesting, shake things up a bit, and get a proper big time heel again at the top of the card. Because who else is a heel at the top of this card at the top of the card in New Japan? Evil? No one takes Evil seriously. Dave Finlay? Well, they might have missed the peak with Dave Finlay and the New Japan Cup this year. I'm not even sure that you consider the War Dogs truly like heels right now. And Shingo could be a great fucking heel. He's a good babyface. He's a very good babyface. I think he'd be a tremendous heel too. Or Hiroki Goto is the guy that hangs on to the title. Because here's the thing. I speculate that if whoever holds on to the title here at Dominion is going to be, they're likely going to make it to Wrestle Kingdom. Yes, there's going to be one defense after the G1. Yes, after the G1, but you know, they usually don't do big title changes. Oh, they did one last year, Warren. Yes, they did. They did. They switched it over from Tetsuya Naito, who could no longer go, to put it on Zack Sabre Jr. so that they could have someone in the Dome capable of having a big time match. Right? So we turned around. So there was that. I think that was a pivot more than anything else. I'm sure they would have liked to keep. I'm sure they would have loved to keep the title on Naito going into Wrestle Kingdom this year, but they didn't because Naito couldn't do it anymore. So I don't necessarily see that. I don't necessarily want to see that back. You know, I think whoever walks out of Dominion with the title is making the Dome. So for that side of the argument, do you keep Hiroki Goto with the title? Because Goto, for all intents and purposes, is very popular. His run is still hot. People are still into him. He gets great reactions from the crowd. You could argue that he is attracting people. I wouldn't say he's like this mega draw, but I think there are signs that he has been putting some butts in seats. Maybe you want to keep that, right? But maybe he retains, you know, out the G1 and into the new year, and he loses at the Dome. But I think there's an argument here for Shingo to win. And I think there's an argument for Shingo to turn heel too. I'm expecting a solid fucking brutal match. A kick-ass match. The floor here is a 4-star match. I don't think anyone will argue with me. If someone does try to argue with me, I'll slug up. No, I won't slug anyone. So look, I'm expecting this match to rule regardless. I'm expecting this match to be kick-ass, and I'm excited for it. I'm really excited for it. Then we have in the other matches of top interest, Yota Tsuji defending the IWGP Global Heavyweight Championship against Gabe Kidd. They've had some slapping matches together, and this is probably going to be one of those. And I would expect, through all intents and purposes, this match to be excellent. I think this is another one that has a really high floor. And look, I think you strap up Gabe Kidd. You know, we talked about Gabe Kidd earlier tonight, but right now he is a guy, one of the young guys, and probably the young guy in New Japan that is lighting up the floor much more than any of the other, like the Three Musketeers, Yuya Uemura, Ryohei Oiwa, none of them are lighting it up like Gabe Kidd is. And I think Gabe has proven his value. I think he's proven his value to New Japan this year. And I think they have something special with him, and they're ready to give him the old shove, right? I think they're ready to push him. They should. And the crowd is into him. They like him. Yeah, you know, there's a couple of little, there's a few cells of discontents on the New Japan side who can't stand him, and especially don't like this thing where he's kind of palling around AEW. You know, they see that as a death sentence, whatever. As it stands right now, if you want to do something, you want to get people excited about your product and buying tickets to go see your show, give this guy bigger roles. Give Gabe Kidd more spotlight. I think he has a ton of value. Look, they've effectively turned him babyface after the Kenny Omega match at Wrestling Dynasty, right? Wrestle Dynasty is it's Wrestling Dynasty, right? Or it's just Dynasty. I can't remember. It doesn't matter. The match he had with Kenny at the start of the year. It was at Wrestle Kingdom. What am I even talking about? It was at Wrestle Kingdom. It wasn't even at the joint show. It was at Wrestle Kingdom. Like from that point on, like he really established himself. Why not go for it? And like I always say, I like Yota Tsuji a lot. And I find that he has started to show some fire. And I think a guy like Gabe Kidd is going to drag it out of him in this type of match. But, Yota is not necessarily a guy that I think will have these great matches time after time, end on, just time after time. I still think he's kind of a vibes guy. I don't think he's, as of yet, I still don't see the full package with him. And, but we're getting there. We're closer than we've ever been. And this will be a good spot for Tsuji to show. Can he have the big match? Can Gabe have the big match, even if he's not wrestling, one of the greatest pro wrestlers in the world? I'm excited for this. Like, this is a nice, exciting, hard-hitting match that we have lined up here, just like with the main event, with two guys who are defining themselves as being the future of New Japan. I'm very excited to see where this is going to go. I'm morbidly curious at David Finlay versus Evil in a dog collar chain death match. I don't know. Look, I think the President Tanahashi, he's kind of seeing the reactions that people have when his boys go off and wrestle Jun Kasai and all that lot. And he's like, oh, people really like the blood. Maybe we should have more of that. 2 New Japan shows in a row where there's a stipulation that involves, or at least lets you believe that there's going to be ultra violence, some blood, some carnage, however you want to call it. We're at that stage now where I think Tanahashi is sort of moving things around. He's seeing what's going around. And he's like, how can we do this ourselves? And I think Finlay and Evil work well in this type of circumstance. And I like a good dog collar match. I don't know about the death match part, but if we're doing a dog collar match, this should be a lot of fun. Evil, like a lot of people have forgotten now that Evil has always been a really good brawler. And Dave Finlay fits this gimmick, to a T. Like he's perfect for this setup here. So, I'm willing to give this one a shot. Yes, there's going to be House of Torture nonsense with the war dogs and all that. That's inevitably going to happen. But I'm kind of excited at the idea. Excited might be a strong word. I'm looking forward to seeing what potentially two great brawlers like Evil and David Finlay can do in a dog collar match against each other. I think there's something there. I legitimately think there's something there that they can tap into. I'm looking forward to it. Kensuke Takeshita will be defending the Never Openweight Championship against Boltin Oleg. Look, Takeshita's on the menu. That's a win. That's an immediate victory right there. I don't think he's dropping the title to Oleg. I think he's going to have a solid match with Oleg. We'll see. We'll be able to see just how far Oleg Boltin Oleg has come, because this is another young guy, but he's never really involved in the discussions regarding, the future of New Japan and whatnot. Has his progress been stunted? Is he still good at what he does? And the president really likes him. The president loves him. I mean, it's Takeshita. What do you want from me? Kensuke Takeshita rules. He's one of the best wrestlers on earth right now. The more things are advancing, the more I'm looking forward to him becoming a full-time member of the New Japan roster. I'm really looking forward to that. And then we have the rest of the card, which is slightly less exciting. We have Great O'Khan and Callum Newman of the United Empire defending the IWGP Tag Team Championship against Tomohiro Ishii and Taichi. This will be hard-hitting. Should be fun. I have no issues with the match itself. Should be a good, hard-hitting, fun one. You've got Ishii and Taichi in here. Great O'Khan, if he's feeling it, he'll deliver the goods. We'll see. Yo and Master Wato will be defending the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship against the House of Torture duo of Yoshinobu Kanemaru and Sho. It's a House of Torture match. It'll be whatever. Hiroshi Tanahashi will be facing Yuya Uemura. That's part of his goodbye. His goodbyes to New Japan. Look, it's 2025 Hiroshi Tanahashi, who has been having better matches recently than I expected. The last few that he had, particularly the one with Takeshita in Chicago, was surprisingly good. He was rather mobile, and I was actually kind of surprised at how good it turned out to be. I'm not saying suddenly he's back to being the ace of the universe or anything. It's still Hiroshi Tanahashi in 2025. I'm still nonetheless looking forward to this to see what Uemura can do in this type of situation, what kind of story they're going to tell. It'll be a fun little match. It won't be too long. It'll be around the 10-minute mark, and you'll be in and out on this one. Absolutely fine. El Fantasmo and Shota Umino will be taking on Zack Sabre Jr. and Ryohei Oiwa. Right? Drilla Maloney, Clark Connors, Taiji Ishimori, and Chase Owens in the Bullet Club War Dogs. That's right. Chase Owens will be taking on Sanada, Ren Narita, Yujiro Takahashi, and X. A lot of speculation as to who the X is going to be. I think it's a returning Jake Lee, who will not only be returning from injury, but will be turning against his War Dog allies to join the House of Torture. That's the safe money, I would believe. That's the safe money, I think. And then we have an opening match where Katsuya Murashama and Sho Makedo will be taking on Daiki Nagai and Masatara Yasuda. Stumbled across the pronunciation there. I apologize. Look, it's tremendous stuff. I think it's a great looking card. I will be reviewing it this weekend, of course, and we'll be popping it up later on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel for members only to begin with. and then available for everyone on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show proper next week. So there you have it. Dominion, New Japan Pro Wrestling Dominion in Osaka-Jo Hall this weekend, June 15. That was your preview. And that about does it for another edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. Thank you very much for joining me again this week. One more pitch, right, to get you to like the video, leave 5 stars, leave ratings, leave reviews, all positive, all fives everywhere, all the best. I will be back on Thursday with the AEW Dynamite review. It's going to be another big one because we got 4 hours of Dynamite to comb through. So that'll be exciting. Hopefully you can make it. For those of you who are members of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel, you can expect the New Japan Dominion show review happening and being available to you first this weekend. So that's a plus if you're a member of the channel. If you want to have access early, just join, become a member. It's just as simple as that. If not, it's fine. It'll be available on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show next week for everyone. So there you go. So lots of stuff coming up. We're back to streaming next week on top of that. So yeah, lots of stuff coming around. And this one is and then this one is coming all the way around. We're done. Thank you all very much for tuning in this week. Go watch some Randy Orton and get back to me, and I'll see you next time.